Hi everyone, welcome into Primetime TV Show. I'm one of your hosts, Barbara Marville-Kelly, and with me is my partner. I don't want to say partner in crime though. My partner. Well, is it? No. Dennis Kelly, always here, always accounted for, and my best friend, my coach, my everything.
Well, thank you. That was very sweet of you.
Just speaking the truth. Before we get started, which we're excited about our show today, especially if you happen to be an entrepreneur, whether in your own personal life and just trying to get a few things together or not, or maybe you're getting ready to start a new business, you definitely want to stick around because we have a special guest, Mr. Steven, who's going to be joining us from the Tony Robbins team. He's a strategist and a national trainer, and he's really going to be giving us some great tips. He actually spoke at our Keep It Local meeting this past Tuesday, so I grabbed him for the show today. But right now I do want to say that we want to send out all our prayers and love to those in Las Vegas, and that's about really all I can say at this point. But hopefully we'll be able to share some tidbits with you during our primetime show, and then stick around for our last segment because we will be giving some hotlines for Puerto Rico, and we may have a guest, if he can make it here in time, he'll come on and talk about his family in Puerto Rico and anything that we can do to help those guys over there as well. In the meantime, I just want to mention, as so many of you do when you're watching our show, or whether you're shopping with me when I have product shows and things, we want to thank you for doing that. And we want you to go ahead and share the show because we try to bring content to you that's going to make a difference in your life. A big thing, a big reason why we do prime time is because we're giving it our prime time, and we want you to live your best in your prime time. And that could mean at any age, right?
Absolutely.
After all, my husband's only 39.
Well, about 50 years ago.
50 years ago, exactly. You know, there's a lot to be said for that because we've both come a long way, especially when it comes to personal growth and development. One of the reasons why I married my husband is he became my life coach. And I'm beginning to understand more and more as we celebrate our what is it, our 17-year anniversary this month. This month.
How about that?
I know.
That's a new record.
It is. For you?
That's what I meant.
Yeah, my birthday tomorrow, and then we have our anniversary and so many other things. But you know, there's a lot of reason why we do get along, because when I decided, I thought you were like a professor or something. You had all
I sure had you fooled.
Oh my goodness. Our date was like for 3.5 hours at the local Perkins. But I have to tell you, what impressed me so was how my husband was able to just have an open conversation with me about life in general, people in general, how we can grow or not grow, and it all comes right back to choices and things of that nature. And the reason why I'm sharing all this with you is because we need to take our mind off of some other things and think about how we can grow in our personal life, because we need to do that in order to grow in our business life. And goodness knows, if you're starting a new business and you really want to focus in on the right lane, as they say these days, wait, it's going to get better as the show goes on here today. But I brought my husband in today because many times he doesn't show up because I'm doing Women Unscripted or we've got a jewelry show going on. But today was extra special because you actually worked with Tony Robbins a number of years ago. And I know I was taxing your brain. When was that about? Was it the 80s? Something like that?
It was, yeah, mainly in the late 70s and 80s.
Yeah. Yeah,
and actually I didn't work with him directly, but I attended all his seminars and books and tapes, and it was like we were working together. So
we have Tony's book from way back then that your dog at the time chewed. He liked it,
didn't he?
Chewed around the edges and everything. This is honest to goodness truth. But the content in this book was so amazing. And I know you know who Tony Robbins is. If you don't, you're going to hear more about it with Steven that's going to be coming up, sharing that. But what was it that caused you to go to Tony Robbins? Because I know you followed a lot of others and dabbled here and there and really gleaned a lot of knowledge. What was your quest? Where were you going? What were you doing at that time?
Well, I worked with a fellow, Bob Henderson, who was a psychologist, and he was having training in his home on a thing called NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming. And I was fascinated by it because it was how to read people's thoughts and actions by their body language. So we all met at his house once a week, and then how I got involved with Tony's training is because Tony had done some things on radio with NLP, and I was fascinated with the results that he got. So I wanted to emulate what he was doing because I thought it was going to be very profitable in my business. And it did work. I mean, it really helped a lot. And of course, one thing went to another where I started attending seminars. I'd have all my employees go, and they would come back really highly motivated. And the other thing I liked about Tony, he walks his talk. I mean, he was a black belt in 1 year. According to his training, it only took 1 year. That's amazing.
Oh yeah, and
so
1 year?
It's not like he's just so many motivators, they talk from the head, but I believe Tony talked from the heart.
Absolutely, and that's a biggie. That really is. For him to still be around after all these years, and now he has so many trainers that are out there, like I was talking about Stephen that was at our Keep It Local meeting this past week, and I tell you, there was so much content, but even more so, a lot of excitement, really whetting your appetite for more information. You just become more thirsty for it. So give us a few accolades, a few things that you feel that Tony Robbins contributed to your success. As of today, he happens to be a 6-time world martial arts champion. How did Tony Robbins affect you with that? I know that's not in business, but it affected your business.
Well, Tony was very good at making you see the inside you, so to speak. And everybody works on, or most everybody, when they get ready for, going to a higher level in their life, they do a lot of stuff from the head, and what was good with Tony's training is that he was attacking the challenges from all different angles. And I thought that was quite interesting because he was very, very acute at working on bringing the mind, the body, and the emotions, the spirit together, the trilogy. And the NLP that Tony was actually, he wasn't so much teaching NLP at the time, I don't believe, but basically his training in that area, one thing that impressed me, he was on radio, wasn't he? It was before he was on TV. This woman had an aversion with snakes. She was petrified of snakes. So he said, well, I can get you where you won't be afraid of snakes at all. And he did this procedure, and sure enough, when he brought a snake she picked up the snake and played with it, and so I said, that I want to learn how to do.
That sounds like you.
Yeah, and so it was one thing after, it wasn't only just one thing, but just the fact that he'd accomplished things that he did in his life, and it made a lot of sense to me. It really motivated me to motivate my staff because, first of all, it makes the fact that they can get success without paying such a dear price.
Exactly. Made it affordable and everything. I remember one thing that I, to this day, have adopted a phrase, and Stephen used it at our training, at our meeting this past week, was the past doesn't equal the present. And I tell you, there's so much truth to that. And whenever anybody starts talking about, well, yeah, but this happened then, and oh, I don't know, and it drags them down, if you just focus on that one statement alone, that's huge.
Yeah, the one that really that I really liked that Tony would use, two things in his life, two rules that he has. Rule number 1, don't sweat the small stuff. Rule number 2, everything is small stuff.
That was Tony Robbins?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
And let me tell you something, there is so much truth to that. Because we're here today and gone tomorrow, we're dust eventually. So why let little things become big things by worrying, by being frustrated, and just letting yourself go and realize we have limited time, so I'm going to enjoy myself. Enjoy the ride. But everybody's looking for everything as a goal. It's not the goal, it's the direction that the goal takes you. Perfection can never be a goal, it can be a direction.
Exactly.
And Tony I was going through his hypnotherapy course at the time to be a therapeutic hypnotherapist. And I took the first basic course and the second course, and a lot of Tony stuff was in there.
Well, it makes a lot of sense, you know, doing that whole mind, body, spirit. And because you're a martial artist, Tony, a martial artist, there's a lot of synergy and a lot going on there, because there's something about martial artists that understand maybe a little bit higher consciousness level, right?
Absolutely. Well, it basically is really based on focus, being able to focus your dream, what you want, and already see it as happening. And you know, that makes a big difference in achieving your goals, because most people, they look at the goal as something over here. The key that I learned from Tony's teaching too was the fact that already look like the goal was accomplished, and feel what it would feel like to be able to make that goal that you already made.
A lot to be said for that, and I can't wait. We're already running out of time of our first segment, but it's okay, because our next segment, after our little commercial break, is going to be Stephen, who's going to be coming up and talking about his experience with Tony Robbins. And now he is a strategist and a national trainer, peak performance, you name it. You're going to absolutely love the story from this young gentleman who knows a lot of knowledge. So we're going to take a break, sit back, get your favorite beverage, whatever that might be, and we'll be back right after this. At a certain age, so this is supposed to happen. No, it's not supposed to happen. At a certain age, so this is supposed to happen. No, it's not supposed to happen. Hi everyone, welcome back into Prime Time. I'm Barbara Marville-Kelly. With me is my husband Dennis Kelly and the Stephen Hilgart. Welcome from Tony Robbins.
Thank you.
I've been waiting all week to bring you on our show to shine, just like you did at our meeting this past week at the Keep It Local. So I have to tell you guys real quickly, and I'm going to bring you right in to just go for it. Stephen has been with Tony Robbins for a couple of years, right? After building his own martial arts business and other companies at a very young age. And don't underestimate this young chap, because I tell you, he has a world of knowledge. These guys, both as mutual martial artists, have crossed paths at the U.S. Open, NASCA, all over the place. So you guys have a lot in common. Tell us what is going on with Tony Robbins these days.
Oh man. Big question. A lot of stuff, obviously. You know, he's been around. Gosh, it's. I think he just had the 40th year anniversary of his career and everything, because he started at 17, real young guy, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, we've got all these big events going on right now. If you haven't seen the Netflix documentary that's out, that's really cool. It's called I Am Not Your Guru.
Oh,
it's on Netflix. It follows Tony at one of his events. So, you know, now that I've been with him for, gosh, about 2 years now, I just go around the country nonstop. I travel 365 to go do presentations and trainings all over the place for Tony now. So it's really fun. It's really exciting.
And you're seeing a difference in people.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You know, the tools and strategies that kind of help me in my own personal life and my business life and everything, I get to share those now, and I get to see kind of the light bulbs come on, right?
Isn't that wonderful? Now you said, well, we talked a little bit this morning, and of course in our training this past week, you were talking about we all have the reasons for achieving, and there's 6 of them, right?
Yeah.
6 reasons.
Yeah.
Do we have time in this to cover them quickly?
Yeah, I mean, real briefly, I mean, one of the, you know, the big things that, you know, Tony was so good at with NLP, or what he later coined neuroassociative conditioning, which is just another fancy term, but basically what he figured out is that everyone does something for a reason. No matter what it is, we all do something, whether it's, you know, something very tragic and dramatic, or whether it's very loving and caring. And there's only 6 reasons. And the interesting thing that Tony's been able to break down, I guess probably one of the best coaches and trainers that you can think of. And it's not because he's got all these unique ideas all the time. He certainly does, but he really breaks it down to understandable concepts. And I guess the 6 needs, very simply, are certainty and uncertainty. Right? So whenever we're in our life, we need to have a certain level of certainty. Or is the ground going to hold up underneath us? You know, is the earth going to shake, or what's going on? If we can't have that amount of certainty, we can't think of anything else.
Yes.
But if you're certain all the time, then you get bored pretty easily with life. That's where the second part, uncertainty, or we call it variety. So we got the first 2 needs. The second 2, of course, are significance, being important, unique, special, different, which is, we all have that, right? We all want that, some more than others.
Yes,
right?
yes.
And then the opposite of that, of course, is that love and connection, right? So it's interesting that these needs kind of counterbalance each other. That's the yin and the yang from the martial arts, right?
That's absolutely correct.
And then the final 2 are growth and contribution, right? Those are the needs that, you know, we like to, needs of the spirit. Those are the ones that cause us to grow, cause us to soar, right? So those 6 needs, those are the reasons people do anything.
And those are some really great bullet points to think about. And I love it when you start talking about the love part and the growth and connection and the spirit, because there are many great life coaches out there. They don't cover everything, and we need everything. We want everything. We want it all.
Right.
And so you just now touched on all these, and in the major seminars, which you have one coming up in November, we're going to be talking about that in the next segment.
Of course.
How do these differ than other sessions, group sessions, workshops, seminars, whatever they may be?
Right. And of course, you're talking to the biased guy, you know, because at this point now, I've been to, gosh, I don't know, some 220 some different seminars I've attended over the years through martial arts or through entrepreneurship, marketing, all this sort of stuff. And I think Tony gets lumped into this motivational speaker because we have no other phrase, no other term to really coin it. We call it a life coach, but now everyone with a Facebook account is a life coach.
Overused.
Right? Yeah, of course. So I guess the big difference is it's not motivation, it's psychology. Really what it comes down to in anything in our lives is, you know, success in many different ways is 20% strategy, 80% psychology. We know what to do, why don't we do it?
Right.
That's the real question. So above and beyond anything, what makes it real different is really understanding you. You know, most of us have been conditioned. We talked about this in our training recently, that most of us have been conditioned to live a certain life, whether it's through our parents or environment or anything along those lines. And we grow up with this way of thinking that may or may not be helping us to where we want to go. So it's really interesting to go to one of Tony's events or go through his coaching programs or training and really start to discover who you actually are. And once you understand that, it's life just becomes so much easier.
You know, I had this.
That's for sure.
And you know, after all you went to many trainings, and I did a few, but not until I met my husband and learned all of the personal growth and development that he went through in getting to know who you were. Because I think you said to me one time, "Oh, hon, you wouldn't have liked me way back then."
No, you wouldn't have. I was a player, you know, did the wrong thing at the wrong time, you know, without getting
too much information. Okay, but so you didn't like yourself when you saw yourself in the mirror?
Yeah, one day I looked in the mirror and
decided to
said,
do
I don't like you. I don't like you at all. And that was the day I made the decision to like myself. And I had to really do a lot of things to like myself because I made a lot of mistakes when I was younger.
And so this is basically validating exactly what Stephen's saying.
Oh, absolutely.
Is we spend so much time trying to find ourselves, right? Growing up as a teenager and the belief systems from whoever, wherever. And then we spend the rest of our life trying to figure out, after we find ourselves, well, who are we? Do we like ourselves? What is it? What's holding us back?
Right.
So when it comes to psychology, to me, that is taking it to a higher level of consciousness because it is psychology.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's fascinating to take a look at some of these belief systems. And once you get into the basics of, do you believe money is abundant or scarce? Do you believe there's always plenty of time, or do you believe there's never enough? They're very simplistic belief systems, but it's so funny that when you really take a deep dive into the psychology, and what Tony's really taught me and many of the other trainers and coaches and people all over the world is that once you understand these 6 human needs, now you understand that some people hold on to their belief systems as a way to meet those needs. Even if it doesn't support them in a relationship, even if it doesn't support them in a business, even if it doesn't support them because it's meeting some of those needs, they have a very tough time letting go of it. That's why it takes, like you mentioned, the woman with the snake phobia, it could be switched in a second.
Yeah.
However, we tend to hold on to some of those things for many different reasons, of course.
And sometimes we don't even know those reasons.
Of course, yeah.
I want to really give you big, huge kudos because you never know what you're going to glean from a seminar, a workshop, like what you did for a little over an hour last week.
Yeah.
So I had a conversation with my son, Jason, and I had my little grandson, and I never realized that I would have, but I was pulling this from my memory bank, and what you said about by age 5, our little people, right?
Yeah.
They are already set in their belief system.
Right.
And he thinks the sun sets and rises in my son. I mean, they're like this. And I said, well, that's why, Jason, we have to set an example for our children. So then I went off as a mom and this, and that, and he's going, okay, time to go. But the point of it is I was validating what I had told him before. I didn't give him the age, but you validated
Sure.
that with the statistics and everything. So think about that. Age 5, we have our belief systems.
Right.
And then they keep going on and on and on and on. So basically, if I understand you correctly, is Tony's program really breaks down those barriers. Just tears the walls down, right?
Right.
It's like walls, no walls.
Yeah. And it's difficult to describe. Tony's smallest training is 50 hours long. That's why, we do these big weekend events, and there's so much content, there's so much to cover. And like you said, I mean, some of the stuff we've been dragging along for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years of our life.
Right.
And it's just running in the background. Tony likes to, I love this little way Tony puts it. He says, listen, we've been given the greatest computer on the planet, right in between our 2 ears, right here. But every computer runs a program. Which programs are running? And a lot of those programs are running in the background, right? Whether it's a procrastination program or a fear program or, what else is going on and what has been conditioned into us for a long time. This is how you act in this situation. And the only way we can pick that up is by watching other people.
Right. So, Stephen, I know you don't mind me giving your age, right?
No.
Even though you said you look like you're 12. Maybe 13
Sure, of
or
course.
14.
13, 14, depends if I shave that day.
Because I'm going to ask you what it was at such a young age of 31, okay, of course, going back when you got involved with Tony. We'll just spend a few seconds on that.
Sure.
Because I just think you are such a gift to our upcoming generations, because for those of us boomers, man, it's taken 50, 60 years to break the barriers on our own, and that depends on how much personal growth and development we get into, how many talk shows, how many books are we reading, how many Tony Robbins, Zig Ziglar, and all the top guys, right? What was it that was your tipping point that just said, you know what, I'm going this way?
It's always a big question, and it's always difficult to answer because life is never so black and white. It's not just one thing that happened where it was all of a sudden. But I mean, one of the biggest significant emotional events was literally I was spending the last of my food money on Tony Robbins' book, Awaken the Giant Within. You know, at that point in my life, I was going through a rough time, and literally I didn't eat for 2 weeks, but I read that book again and again and again and again, and it just transformed my life because I started to understand psychology at a different level.
Yes.
Here I am in my zone, and I'm beating myself up over and over again. I'm blaming everything but myself. Or some days I was blaming myself. Of here's why you're stupid, and here's why you're bad, and here's why you can't ever make it. And telling myself this stuff. So buying that book, as silly as it sounds, it was a significant emotional event in my life. And really what ended up happening, that was kind of the catalyst for me to start studying personal growth, for me to start studying business and entrepreneurship and marketing. And you know, the short story, it's very easy to just say, Tony Robbins changed my life, but he was definitely the catalyst because that led me to read, gosh, in the last 10, 15 years now, it's been over 1,200 books and 200 some seminars. And I've spent, you know, I didn't go to university, I didn't go to college, but I spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to further my education and further myself. So, I mean, I would definitely say that that was really the tipping point in that moment, because up until that point, I wasn't reading, I wasn't going to seminars, unless it had something to do with kicking someone in the head. I didn't bother, right?
Right.
That was in the martial arts. So,
yeah. So that's a beautiful story because it just goes to show that, well, from a husband, it's never too late. For if you're a baby boomer or even older, it's never too late to really break down those barriers. And if you're a younger generation, I was just amazed when you told me your age and everything, because giving a lot of credit to our generations, I think they need a little bit more help besides all this all the time.
Right.
So it kind of did my heart good when you were mentioning some of the little challenges you have, like I do, when it comes to electronics.
Right.
And I just think when others can see the various generations here when it comes to personal growth and development from a psychology level point of view, I mean, it's your belief system is everything. So I know we have a break coming up here, and when we come back, we're going to dig a little bit deeper, and then we're going to talk about a magnificent event that's going to be coming up in November, and we'll give you all the stats and details on that here in just a little bit. But it's exciting to share your personal story and how you were involved, and now we're sharing it with you because this is our passion. This is what we do on Prime Time, is make a difference or try to give you content so that, you know, maybe we can give you a little something to think about, food for thought, that just maybe, it was just what you were looking for. We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back after this. At a certain age, so this is supposed to happen. No, it's not supposed to happen. at a certain age, so this is supposed to happen. No, it's not supposed to happen. And it goes right back to that belief system.
Exactly.
Hi, everybody. We're back. We were just talking about the belief system during that break. And just quickly, did you share what you were talking about, about breaking the bricks and you were like 14 and they wouldn't let you do it because you were too small at the time? Belief, belief, belief. But you did it.
Yeah, it was, that was one of our requirements to get our black belt in the martial arts, is that we had to break a brick. We had to break so many different boards with different techniques and show some of our skills. And I just remember, I was always the slimmest guy, always the slimmest kid, always smaller than everyone else. And I'm just whacking away at this brick and just with my elbow trying to just smash it. I'm jumping in the air and trying to smash. And it just, I believed that I couldn't do it. And it just came true, right? Because all I did was I kept stopping at the brick. And of course, every time I smack my elbow, it gets all black and blue. So for weeks, it was just black, And of course, I go to school and teachers are your parents okay? Are they beating you? That's the life of the martial artist, right?
Yeah, exactly.
No, it's fine. I was just trying to break some bricks with my head. No worries.
Well, that's a classic example about the whole belief system. Before that, they were telling you were too small, you were too small. Big things come in small packages. What you think about, you bring about. So that's a perfect lead-in to this segment. What can we share that you find are some of the best points that we can let our viewers in on right now that could help them in their day today?
I guess that there's when we talk about this stuff, I guess there's two major things that holds everyone back. And it's very easy to get the strategies. It's very easy to go on Google and find what you need to do to be successful. The challenge is most of us don't do it. And I guess the two things that we really need to tackle, and if there's any areas to focus on in life, I guess it would be these two things, is number one are these internal conflicts, right? And we had this conversation a little bit before, which is, so many people, they say, man, I want to go out there, I want to make a ton of money, I want to, really build my business, I want to do all that, but if I do that, I'll never see my family. Those internal conflicts, if we have a lot of those going on, it's very difficult to push forward. Right. So unless you can kind of clear up some of that and get people, I know a lot of entrepreneurs, they struggle with, my spouse is not supportive. My parents aren't supportive. My family isn't supportive, just whatever it is, but they feel like they have those internal conflicts and they feel like they can't be cleared out. That would be something that I would spend a lot of time and energy trying to figure out. But then the second part of this are these emotional blocks. So, of course, we have an internal conflicts up here, right? And Tony always says, you stay in your head, you're dead, right? If you constantly think about that, that's the truth. So our decisions have to be coming from the heart, right?
Sure.
And I'm a very practical guy, so I like to break that down and say, listen, we have these emotional blocks. And really what those are, when you're stressed, when you're frustrated, when you're upset, when you're depressed, when you make different decisions than if you were happy or excited or motivated or passionate or, whatever it is. And it's in those moments of decisions that our destiny is shaped. So I would say if there's anything that I can share with anybody is just really work on those two things above and beyond anything else.
I'm glad that you said that, because that's how we've been living our life, is making decisions from the heart. And after you start practicing that, it becomes normal everyday decision making.
Right.
It's just automatic. And that's one of the reasons why we do our show. So you have this event coming up in November. And how many days is it?
3.5 days.
3.5 days.
Yes.
Talk about breaking the barriers.
Yes. We call them immersion events. Because immersion, really what you got to do, if you're ever to learn a new skill or to change your mindset or really get something done, you got to get out of your own environment and somewhere where you can sit and focus. I mean, you mentioned the phone. We have so many distractions.
Of course.
I mean, how many times do people pick up a book? I mean, how many people actually finish a book? I mean, this has been the statistic for, 100 years, probably longer than that,
of course.
Obviously.
They read it to get what they need in the beginning of it, and then they forget the rest.
They read the first 2 pages or a chapter at the most, right? So it's really nice to have these big events. So of course, Tony's big flagship event that everyone kind of starts in is called Unleash the Power Within. That's the whole firewalk experience. That's the whole, changing your limiting belief systems and really working on yourself for a weekend.
And that's probably more time that maybe an average individual has spent in a long time, because like you say, there's so many distractions. the job, the family, the kids, the dog, appointments, paying the bills, how to pay the bills, or maybe people are not happy with what they're doing. So do you think, Stephen, when people attend these seminars and the workshops and all these different, like 3-day events and all, by the time they leave, what do you feel are some of the best things? And I know everybody's going to get different results when they attend these, but they will get results. What are you seeing with them? You've been doing this for a couple of years now with Tony. You're a national trainer. You've got to be able to pick up some really good stuff.
There's so many success stories. It's just unbelievable. It's, I can talk about myself all day long, and here we are. It feels a little trite, but really I do this. I love day 2 of every Unleash Power Within event, because everyone that, especially the people that were kind of cautious about signing up or cautious about coming, or, maybe they wanted to back out at some point, if they go there on day 2, they come out to me, giant hug, tears in their eyes, just thank you for getting me in here. That's really what it comes down to. And we got the video up there too, which is fantastic.
Well, the thing is that when people can have a life-changing event, that's huge. A life-changing event. How many of you out there right now would like to make some changes in your life, and you've been putting it on the back burner? You put it next year. The beginning of the year, we've got some, New Year's resolutions, and it's going to be, this is our year. This is our year. You said that at our meeting this week, and it's so true. I'm guilty of it. We're all guilty of that. But the thing is getting out of our own way and really letting it sink in right down to the soul, right down to the pit of our soul, which is what Tony delivers, and through you delivers it as well. So he's got so many of you representatives out there helping people. It can't help but be a win-win in November. So it's a 3-day event. Are they doing that firewalk thing?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
First
Just
night.
don't give away the secrets.
I'm not going to give away the secrets. The truth is, it's simply a metaphor. Anyone can do it. Just like we talked about breaking boards or breaking bricks. Honestly, anyone can do that as well. Now, I know immediately the belief systems fire off. I can never do that.
Fire off.
There's no way. I can't do that. But just boom. Fire off. You like my language there.
Yeah.
So the interesting thing about the firewalk is it's 15 feet, 2,000 degrees, burning hot coals. It could melt steel. But we have thousands and thousands and thousands of people walk through this barefoot and don't even get singed. And it's not mind over matter. It's just, you learn a little simple strategy. But the real truth of the matter is, what's the emotion you're going to feel right before you do it? And that's fear. And the number one thing that holds everyone back in life is fear.
False evidence appearing real
100%.
Every time.
100%. So, like I said, I've been happy enough now. I got my mother to do her first event just recently. I got my brother and my sister-in-law to do theirs too. And like I said, this one coming up in November here in Florida, I've got my niece coming down, and I've got a couple friends. So every event now, it's just really fun for me to go stand there and just watch them and see how they can react.
And it helps you with your trainings and the upcoming seminars, the upcoming events. So, did you walk on coals?
No.
No. Would you?
Well, why not?
There we go.
Well, maybe.
It wasn't that I didn't want to. I just never took the time.
He wasn't doing it then, was he?
You were probably breaking boards at that point.
Yeah, I was breaking boards and doing things like that. Yeah.
Well, maybe we'll put that on our bucket list.
Well, one of the biggest things I got out of working Tony's systems and everything was focus. That is the one thing that most people lose, the ability to focus. There's an old saying, attention is the weapon of the super warrior. Attention develops concentration. Concentration develops spiritual power. And spiritual power is the mightiest force in existence. All comes from being able to focus on that idea, seeing that transform, and then believing that there's no way you're going to not make it.
That's right.
Because you think it's already made, and then you've experienced the feeling of that goal being made even before it's made. Otherwise, there's an old expression, I won't even say it, in the wind.
I knew it. Well, I'm glad that you brought that up, because focus is so powerful. I'll be the first one to admit that if I lose my focus, what happens when you stop with your focus? You can't get from here to here because you stop your focus right here. Yeah. So we all have to find our own way to stay focused, and I mean really focused, to get from A to B to C to D. and finish it up and live a more optimal life when it comes to being an entrepreneur, right? Or personal growth and development, living a heart-centered life. You hear us talking about that all the time. And it can make a difference. And by having, the seminars, these different events, and now does Tony travels almost as much as you.
Oh yeah, he's just as crazy now. At this point, it's what is it, 31, 32 different companies he owns at this point. And, at this point, he's the mega star, of course, which is fantastic. He would never say that, right? He's a pretty humble guy. He's pretty modest. He loves helping people. I mean, that's the number one thing.
He does,
right?
clearly.
And that's the old, what's the old Zig Ziglar saying? If you help enough people get what they want, you'll have everything you've ever wanted.
That's right. That's right.
And that's
so true.
There. Yeah.
He was another one of our great mentors, Bruce Lee. It's interesting, the martial arts, all that, because it is a different mindset. It's that energy frequency that has a lot to do with psychology, and it's fabulous. So how can we get a hold of you so that you can give all the particulars for the event coming up in November? And it's going to be held in West Palm?
West Palm Beach Convention Center. So that's coming up here in November. And then we have San Jose in March, San Jose, California.
Oh, very
good. Either one of those. And obviously, I know you love your people and everything, so we'll make sure they get hooked up with some really good deals and stuff like that. But probably easiest way to get a hold of me, just send me an email. It's Stephen.Hilgart@TonyRobbins.com. STPHEN.Hilgart@TonyRobbins.com. Otherwise, find me on my website, StephenHilgart.com. There's many different ways to get a hold of me. I'm very easy to reach on Facebook and all the social media sites, of course. So
exactly. Yeah. Do you have any more meetings locally with any business owners, or are you done for this trip?
No, tons. I mean, I'm nonstop. I try to get out and do coaching and team training 2-3 times a day. Awesome. So depending on where I am, of course, my travel schedule gets a little crazy because I'm flying in, I'm flying out, I'm all over the place.
I understand. I understand. So if you want to get a hold of myself, I can track you down.
Oh, 100%.
If you're in town, if you're a local viewer, and you want to find out where Stephen is, or even from there, there's the website.
There we go.
StephenHilgart.com.
That works.
You'll be able to get right with Stephen. He can give you all the particulars. And honestly, the meeting that you did last week was so interactive. So if you happen to have a business, if you're getting ready to launch a new product, maybe you have this fantastic idea and you want to get started. You even have the funding for it, but something's holding you back. Am I on track here?
Right.
This is for you. It is definitely for you, because the training, even just for an hour to kind of pique your interest to see if you like what Stephen's talking about, which I promise you will, he just touches, he hits every heartstring, and we all know that we need to make the changes, and you help walk us through that. Not necessarily walking on coals at first, but maybe with
Please don't go home and tip over the grill and see, look what I learned on Prime TV today.
Don't
do that.
Don't do that. But Stephen's he's been with Tony now for a couple years, and he is a powerhouse of knowledge, excitement, and sincerity. That's what I love. You are such a great extension to Tony, and I'm sure he's very blessed to have you with him. Thank you so much for coming on board with us on Prime Time today.
Thanks for having me.
And we look forward to having you back again when you're in town.
Absolutely.
In the meantime, get a hold of Stephen. If you want to make change, you can make a change. And remember, don't be fearful, because false evidence appearing real is what that fear word is all about. Remind yourself. I'll leave you with that. When we come back, my husband and I are going to talk about a couple of things in the area, a few public service announcements for Puerto Rico, and a little bit more other than that. But thank you, my friend.
That's
You're
my pleasure.
Awesome.
Thank you.
We'll be right back. At a certain age, so this is supposed to happen. No, it's not supposed to happen. at a certain age, so this is supposed to happen. No, it's not supposed to happen. Hi everyone, welcome back into Primetime TV. I'm Barbara Marville-Kelly. With me is my husband Dennis Kelly. Wasn't Stephen great?
Yeah, it was great.
I tell you, if you missed any of our earlier portion of the show, you missed Stephen Hilgart with Tony Robbins, and you can always go back and see the show on Facebook, on Primetime, on WeBeam TV, because it's a wealth of information for some personal growth and development. And you know what? We've been hit with some hard times lately after surviving Irma. Not only with us, but with Puerto Rico, Harvey still healing, and then now today with the tragedy in Vegas. And I just want to say again, our prayers and love go out to everyone out there. My heart was speaking to me after we did survive the Irma thing. So my husband and I started doing some little things that we do to help for de-stressing. We're going to be going out into the community and doing some things in some local facilities to help people de-stress and really get their focus on something that is a little bit more positive, a little bit more relaxing, that will do it for you. In fact, Stephen was talking about that. You were talking about how important focus is, even in the times of crisis. And I know that it's very difficult for us to do at times, but if we can change our frequency level to my favorite four-letter word, love, it really does help to do that. And you know, even more than I, as a master martial artist, I mean, how many times 8th degree black belt and all that, you've been doing the martial arts and have this extra sense of that frequency and the validation that comes with the frequency of love, as opposed to some of the other, you know, hate and violence and things like that. Tell us a little bit, just in 30 seconds or more, on what is it that changes in our body when we concentrate and focus on love?
Well, of course, we discussed at the beginning of our conversation today, we discussed the important thing of our belief system, which is critical when it comes to being successful. But what I think most people don't realize, thoughts are things. The three most magic words. Our thoughts are things. So most people don't look at it that way. They think of a thought as something that's out there, and if their thoughts are positive, they usually can't feel, well, I can't really do that, or I can't achieve that. And then as a result, they don't. Then it starts basically with the program. 77% of the population are negative. They think more negative than they do positive, and that's for a purpose. Nature gave us that for survival purposes. We're more tending to draw towards the negative, and we remember a negative thing longer usually than a positive thing. So it's changing, rewiring the brain, so to speak. And that is not that difficult to do if you actually persist on it and just see what you really are dreaming, and that it's already accomplished, and it really makes a difference.
Focus on that, and in trying times, I know that's what we focused on. We talked a little bit about our hunkering down during Irma, and so that has just really lit our fire to even go back out into the community even more so and share just what has helped us. And I'm sure you have some tidbits that you could share with us, and if so, come on the show or send me a little note, private message me, because you know what I notice with all this tragedy? The one beautiful thing, it does come right back to love and humankind and our instinct to help one another, no matter what.
Well, tragedy is basically there for us to grow. The key thing is we have that program coming in. The program determined upon how we believe, and how we believe determined upon our attitude. Our attitude depends upon how we feel, and how we feel depends upon how we act, and then how we act gets us the results. So it's like a chain circle, and the key thing is to get that belief system working, so that then that gives you the attitude of accomplishment by being focused, by believing in yourself and having a good, strong belief system. And then the next thing, of course, is the feeling, how you feel. Now, once you learn about how the power of the heart, then you can direct that feeling so fast and so powerfully that.
Would you say it comes naturally? I don't mean to interrupt you, hon.
That's all right.
But would you say that it just comes naturally?
Well, yeah, first you have to be aware of the key thing. Thoughts are things. Whatever you focus on, you're going to attract. The law of attraction. Then it goes into the law of deliberate creation. Then it goes into the law of allowing. Then it goes in the law of the word is. Oh, I had a senior moment there.
Hold that senior moment. I know where you're going with that. When you think of it, come back. But I know where you're going with it, because this is where our skill sets come in times of tragedy. And I'm not saying that. I'm not reading it from a textbook. I'm reading it from my mind and my heart, because they're very connected. And as a fellow martial artist, I understand the frequencies and everything. And so when we had Stephen Hilgart on here talking about Anthony Robbins, and you will find more when you work with yourself, with your skill sets, so that when these crazy times, and I tell you, they are crazy times, that's when we learn to pull from our skill sets to help us. Now, we only have 3 minutes remaining. I could sit here with you guys for another hour or so, but I did promise I was going to have a very special dear friend who was on my Facebook page, Jairo Garcia. If you're watching the show today, we love you. We're going to have you come back on. We hope maybe you've gotten some word from your parents in Puerto Rico that are in the mountains in a remote area. But I told Jairo he was one of our dance instructors at Arthur Murray a while back, and we become very, very good friends. And he was pouring his heart out on my timeline about Puerto Rico and the things that were going on. And I said, well, how can I help? So we thought we would try to get some information going, maybe even do a fundraiser in the area, which I'll keep you guys updated. But I want to thank you, John, for putting this up. The Puerto Rico Federal Hotline, with 2 minutes remaining, is 202-778-0710. This is for you guys to give them a call if you need any help, want to find out information, just a connection. And then another one that I wanted to give, now this is for Puerto Rico. This one I just received today was, excuse me, for Las Vegas. God bless you guys there. To locate loved ones is 1-866-535-5654. Our producer's so great, thank you. But I wanted to make sure you had these hotline numbers before we ended the show, because our show will be replayed. It is in the archives at www.webeamtv.com. You'll be able to go back and watch it. In fact, it'll probably be up again, reposted on Facebook. But if you have any concerns while we're here doing our primetime show in this last minute remaining, please reach out to us. We're both on Facebook, private message us, and we're going to do everything we possibly can with our show right in the heart of Port Richey. And we love you guys tuning in to glean some information, things that we can share with you that has helped us and that has helped different pockets of the community. And also to let you know that this is kind of a little segment leading up to our village, which we did last month. It was, my goodness, we're in October already. But last month we did Our Village, which really goes out into the community. Our Village comes together and makes things better. So that's coming
a good
up,
one.
That's coming up this Wednesday on our Chamber TV show. We're doing a segment wherever we possibly can, because I don't think we can get enough information out. So it's time. It's that time again, my dear.
So fast.
I know, especially when we are really enjoying ourselves sharing this information. So thanks for being there, and we'll see you Wednesday.